quiet down just for a second. I think we're going to get the show started. So thank you everyone for coming out. It's about 6:10 right now, so we thought we'd get the party started, if you will. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back from the holidays. I hope you all had a great time with your families and your friends and so forth. It's amazing that it's such a wet season already in San Francisco, which is awesome. For those of you who've been up in Tahoe, you all know that this has repercussions everywhere that we exist as Bay Area people. But thanks for being here. So tonight, I'm going to be very brief, and excuse me if I look a little strange. I completely threw out my back yesterday, so I'm kind of hobbling around here. So I'm going to be artificially brief. But I want to thank you for coming out tonight. As a background, the mayor's office, and Gil is here from our city planning department, and we'll have some other people speaking. The mayor's office has proposed a law, a density bonus program for planning here in the city of San Francisco that we're here to discuss tonight, talk about the implications not only across the city but in District 2 as well. There's a map about potential buildings that are affected. I will just say this as a background. I believe it was 79, the state itself passed a density bonus law. And so this attempt, what the mayor's office is thinking about right now, as we continue in District 2 and every other neighborhood in San Francisco struggle with affordability, this is our attempt locally to come into compliance with the state law that has existed for a long time, but also really to make a move towards, in my opinion, middle-income housing in the city of San Francisco. So this is our attempt. I think there are pluses and minuses. Really my goal tonight is to allow our planning department to really talk to you about the details of it and to get your input, good and bad, about what it is. Afterwards, I'm going to stick around as long as I can. Jess from my office is here, Montahano, who's raised his hand back there in the gray suit and the wonderful black Christmas shirt. And you can always email me, call me. Alex, who's our most amazing volunteer in our office, has been here since the beginning tonight. We can also talk with Alex. So please, I want your feedback. I want to hear what you think about it. But most importantly, this is a dialogue between planning and yourselves. So thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate the involvement as well. Thank you to Calvary for hosting once again. You continue to do an amazing job for us as a community here in Pacific Heights. So I want to thank Calvary for that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gil, and he will take it from here. So thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Farrell, for convening this meeting, and I'm glad to see you all tonight. We wanted to talk to you specifically about a proposal to one of several things that the city is contemplating. Can you use the mic? Sure. Yeah. Thank you for saying that early. I'm Gil Kelley, and I direct the long-range planning function of the planning department here in the city. As I was telling the supervisor earlier this evening, I was actually born in this district, so didn't live my whole life in the district, but I'm glad to be back. What's that?
You need to hold it
volume?
Or hold it closer to your mouth.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that?
Yeah.
Better? Okay. I'll try to keep it close. We're here this evening to talk to you about a proposal to help the city address the affordable housing issue in the city, which you all know already without me explaining it to you, is perhaps the number one issue gripping the city right now. I'll set a little bit of context for that in a minute. I wanted to first introduce Kirsten Dissinger, who is here, and she's the project planner on this proposal, and is actually our lead housing policy planner. In our part of the planning department, we're dealing with a whole range of planning issues, from transportation to housing to physical design and placemaking and so forth and so on. We're here really to talk specifically about housing tonight, and more specifically about one proposal, which we're calling the Affordable Housing Density Bonus. And so we want to talk to you about that project specifically. It is a proposal, and we do want to answer as many questions as we can about what that is, but we also want to hear from you what your thoughts are and your concerns are. So I just want to make sure that you understand we're here to listen this evening. And Kirsten can talk a bit more about the schedule for the project. I just wanted to, let me also introduce one other staff person who's here, Andy. Where did she go? There she is. Andy Nelson is also from planning and is supporting the project, as is Michael Leon in the back. So, okay, introduced everybody I need to. Let me just say a couple words. You know, the cost of housing is really on everyone's mind. And in fact, San Francisco is now the most expensive housing market in the country. The average price of a home citywide, so you can imagine all the different neighborhoods in the city and the variety of neighborhoods, is now $1 million, roughly speaking. And the average rent for a 2-bedroom unit is over $4,000 a month. So what those prices have done in terms of an effect is really to begin to segregate the city into high-income and very low-income people who receive subsidies. And the sort of middle-income band is really being squeezed out. And it's one thing for people who have a home ownership stake and have a stable income and have their home secured. It's another for people who either don't have that security because they're renting or because they're transitioning from one job to another or they're moving here. What's actually happening in terms of the city's population is that about, we've looked in detail the last several years, and we've added about 10,000 new people every year. And that's expected to go forward, including in the Bay Area regional government's official projections. We're going to add about that number of people every year. So over the next 15 years, by 2030, we'll be adding somewhere probably north of 150,000 new residents to San Francisco. It's just what's happening. People are coming here. They're moving back to cities. San Francisco is a very attractive city despite its high prices. People continue to move here. What's also underneath that is that 10,000 people every year coming is actually a net addition. So we dug into the numbers further and found that about 70,000 people are actually moving to the city every year, and about 60,000 are leaving every year. So now San Francisco has always been somewhat of a transient city, but when you think about that, that's a really big number, 70,000 people moving every year. So in the space of 5 or so years, you've got a city the size of Oakland essentially moving out of San Francisco. And what's going on in that sort is that the middle class and families are largely leaving the city in greater numbers than are coming here. So I just wanted to put that framework around this because this proposal has kind of like common sense aspects to it. It also has some controversial aspects to it. I want to put that larger frame around it. This is really one attempt, and not the only one, to try to address some of that problem, and particularly for those middle income households. The other couple bits of context I wanted to put on, and Kirsten will flesh this more out in detail when she talks in a moment, is that because the affordable housing need is so high in San Francisco, and let me just say parenthetically, as someone who was born here and has lived here periodically over my life, as many of you have, many of us have come to the conclusion really the soul of San Francisco is at risk. Like, what kind of city are we? Very high income and very low income in the next decade or so. And so this housing issue we talk about just in terms of housing units and numbers, but it really goes to the quality of who we are as a city and who are our neighbors and who can our kids afford to live here and so forth and so on. So those are the kind of the deeper questions that we don't have perfect answers for, but that we are trying to get to through a number of these housing policies. And tonight, again, we'll talk about one of those. The other bits of context I wanted to refer to are that in this particular case, what we are trying to do is to increase the supply of affordable housing, again, particularly for those middle-income families, without public subsidy. So this program is really designed to make that differential cost for these affordable units part of private development. Private development is very, very lucrative right now in the city. And those projects, with a little bit of relief from some of the zoning standards, which Kirsten will talk to you about, can really accommodate a sizable chunk over time and spread out throughout the city of that affordable housing need that we have. So first of all, I want to say that it's not a public subsidy program. This is really a very dispersed and privately funded, essentially, program. The second thing I wanted to say is that the supervisor mentioned, in some ways, we don't have a complete choice about this because the state made a decision that if developers provide affordable housing a certain amount, they're entitled to what's called a density bonus and other incentives as well. San Francisco considered itself immune or exempt from that rule, which was put into place 3 or more decades ago, until a court case came down about 2 years ago in the North Bay, which basically, and we thought that because, well, we're requiring developers to do a certain amount, a certain scale of project, more than 10 units. We're requiring them to do 12% of inclusionary housing anyway that's affordable. So we don't need to bother with this density bonus thing. Well, the courts came back and basically said, no, if they're doing the inclusionary, they're entitled to a density bonus. So what we've tried to do is to be within that larger legal framework. We've tried to be San Francisco and tailor-make our own program, which essentially provides even better levels of affordability, but does it in a way that we think is more contextual for San Francisco. That is to say, we want things that meet our standards for design and neighborhood compatibility, and in exchange for that, we're sort of making our pathway for the permitting and the exemptions and so forth easier than going the state route, which we think would be probably less popular in San Francisco. And again, Kirsten will explain the details there, but I just wanted to say at some level we don't have a choice. In fact, there are already some applications in the city, none that I know of in this district, but there are already some applications who are coming forward insisting that they be given a density bonus for their project through the state bonus system. Finally, I wanted to say that we've been very careful about San Francisco's tradition of neighborhood review, neighbors review, residents review of development projects. So we're not, as part of this proposal, and there's been some kind of, a lot of misinformation out there recently in the last couple of weeks on the blogs about what this is, a sort of reinstitution of redevelopment from the 1950s or 60s. It's clearly not that. This is a very, very limited program that is spread citywide, very much focused, as Kirsten will describe, on selective infill, mostly of what we call soft sites, that is to say, sites that are really underbuilt. This is not about wholesale scraping of buildings through neighborhoods and putting up high-rises. That sort of fear-mongering, I think, doesn't belong in the conversation. That there are points that we need your input on, but it really doesn't help to exaggerate what this is about. So we want to have that closer discussion about what it really is tonight. But as a sort of foundational point, we have not changed in this proposal the review processes. So we're not saying affordable housing gets to go through with no review, for example, no neighborhood. That is not the case with this program at all. And I just wanted to make that point also. So any project that now is subject to your review, to neighborhood review, to planning commission review, and so forth, those standards will remain in that category. So we're not changing that part of it. We're being more nuanced about the kind of incentives that we give the developers who are willing to put forward a sizable amount of affordable housing as part of their project. And so I want Kirsten to explain that. So I hope that is relatively clear for you, and at least that draws some framework about what this is and what this isn't and what the purposes are. So I'm going to ask you to...
You had a question.
Sure. I'm going to ask you to hold most of your questions today, but I'll take one or two just because I really want Kirsten to give the...
So in other words, you're telling me that the bullet points on this notice that was handed out to everybody tonight, they're wrong. The one that says restrict advance notification and public review for the public. The one that says...
Yeah. Look, I'll tell you what. Look, thank you for pointing that. I'm going to let Kirsten go through that list as part of her presentation. And I'll take one more, but then I really want us to get full knowledge of the proposal, and then we can have a discussion. And by the way, we found this through a number of these committee meetings so that everyone has a chance to get their questions answered. We have handed out, thank you, you've done your homework already, we have little cards for you to fill out. And it'd be great to write your questions on that. We have a record of the questions that way, and we also are able to get everybody's questions. We'll also leave some time at the end to have an open session where there are additional questions to be answered. So,
I just have a clarifying
Yes.
question. If a new development comes in, there are two options. One would be to have it residential, rental, or the other sales. Affordable today, does that mean that new construction, those rental units will fall under rent control so they will remain affordable? And does that mean that those affordable condos will, in the same way when buildings used to be converted, and that the building was affordable, it was on the deed and it could only be sold at a certain percentage?
Good question. We are talking about long-term affordability here, and so let me ask Kirsten as part of her presentation to get into the detail of that. But the whole goal here is to make sure that these are essentially permanently affordable units. So with that, let me turn it over to Kirsten Ditchinger, and she's going to be able to run through some slides here, and then we'll be able to ask your questions via these cards, and we'll get to all of you, I promise. Okay? And we'll come around. David's coming around to collect the cards.
Anybody need a card?